In this session, we shall look into the review of basic concepts of thermodynamics. What is thermodynamics? Thermodynamics is a branch of physics which deals with heat and temperature and interconversion of heat and other forms of energy. Thermodynamics deals with the transformation of thermal energy into other forms of energy and vice versa, we can say. ಈ ಥರ್ಮೋಡೈನಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಚ್ ಹೇಗೆ ಉದ್ಭವ ಆಯಿತು ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಯುರೋಪ್ನ ಕೈಗಾರಿಕಾ ಕ್ರಾಂತಿಯ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಸಮರ್ಥವಾದ ಎಂಜಿನ್ನ ಆವಿಷ್ಕಾರದ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇತ್ತು. ಆ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಥರ್ಮೋಡೈನಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಹೊಸ ಬ್ರ್ಯಾಂಚಿನ ಉದ್ಭವ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಲೇ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಆದರೆ ಇವತ್ತು ನಾವು ಪ್ರತಿದಿನ ಥರ್ಮೋಡೈನಮಿಕ್ಸ್ನ ಹಲವಾರು ಅನುಭವಗಳನ್ನು ಪ್ರತಿದಿನದ ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಪಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಕಮ್ ಅಕ್ರಾಸ್ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಥರ್ಮೋಡೈನಮಿಕ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಅವರ್ ಡೈಲಿ ಲೈಫ್. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ನೀವು ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ ಎದ್ದು ಒಂದು ಲೋಟ ಕಾಫಿ ಕುಡಿಯುವಾಗ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಥರ್ಮೋಡೈನಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ಹೇಗೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ನೀವು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಒಂದು ಲೋಟದಲ್ಲಿರುವಂಥ ಕಾಫಿ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ನೀವು ಒಂದು ಲೋಟದಲ್ಲಿ ತಗೊಳ್ಳುವಂಥ ಬಿಸಿ ನೀರಾಗ್ಬೋದು. ಇದರಿಂದ ನಮಗೆ ಥರ್ಮೋಡೈನಮಿಕ್ಸನ್ನು ಸುಲಭವಾಗಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಆ ಲೋಟದಲ್ಲಿರೋ ನೀರು ಅಥವಾ ಕಾಫಿ, ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಥರ್ಮೋಡೈನಮಿಕ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿಬೋದು. ಆ ಥರ್ಮೋಡೈನಮಿಕ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಹೇಗೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ, ಅದನ್ನು ಡಿಫೈನ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ. A thermodynamic system may be defined as a definite quantity of matter. The matter may be solid, liquid or gas. It is bounded by some closed surface. Hence, a thermodynamic system refers to a certain portion of the universe selected for investigation. ಸೊ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಆಗಿ ನಾನು ಆಗಲೇ ಹೇಳ್ದಂಗೆ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಲೋಟದಲ್ಲಿರುವಂತಹ ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ವೆಸಲ್ನಲ್ಲಿರುವಂತಹ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಸಾಲಿಡ್, ಲಿಕ್ವಿಡ್ ಅಥವಾ ಗ್ಯಾಸನ್ನು ನಾವು ಥರ್ಮೋಡೈನಮಿಕ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಅಂತ ಪರಿಗಣಿಸ್ಬೋದಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಇನ್ ಆರ್ಡರ್ ಟು ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಬೆಟರ್, ಹಿಯರ್ ಎ ಥರ್ಮೋಡೈನಮಿಕ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ is shown in the figure. It is a container fitted with a piston. Since it is fitted with a piston, it is said to be a closed system. Some material, substance in solid, liquid or gaseous form is taken inside the container, and there is a boundary for this substance, and it is surrounded by some surroundings. Hence, it is a system. We define a system as a particular substance or matter taken in some closed surface. Now, what is the meaning of surroundings? It is anything outside the system which can exchange energy with it and has a direct bearing on the behavior of the system is called surroundings. Here, what is exchanged? Energy is exchanged with the system and the surroundings. Surroundings may give energy in the form of heat energy, or it can absorb energy from the system. Energy can be given into the system, or energy can be absorbed from the system. So this is done through the surroundings, which is surrounding the substance. Here you can understand a system is there, and there is a boundary which separates the system and the surroundings. The dotted line shows the boundary of the system. Hence, this system is separated by the surroundings. Separated in the sense it may be in contact or it may be in an insulation, the boundary of a system may be real, as in the case of a gas enclosed in a cylinder, or imaginary. The boundary of system may or may not allow it to interact with the surroundings. What are the types of thermodynamic system? A system which can exchange energy and matter with surroundings is called an open system. In the figure, you can see there is a open system here, and another system is shown. It is a closed system, and the third system is also shown. It is an isolated system. You can understand better what is an open system. In an open system, energy as well as the matter is exchanged with the surroundings. So here, for example, if you have taken a cup of coffee, you can observe the vapors are exchanged with the surroundings. So here vapor in the form of the matter is exchanging. Also the heat is also exchanged with the surroundings. Such a system is known as open system. Now here it is a closed system. This cup of coffee is closed with some lid. Therefore, a system which can exchange only energy and not matter with the surroundings is called a closed system. So here only heat exchange is taking place, but no matter is exchanged with the system. ಅಂದರೆ ಆವಿಯ ರೂಪದಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಮ್ಯಾಟರ್ ಸರೌಂಡಿಂಗ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಏನಂತ ಅನ್ಬೋದು, ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ಡ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿಬೋದು. ಇನ್ನು ಐಸೋಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ವಿಷಯಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದರೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯ ಎನರ್ಜಿ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಚೇಂಜ್ ಕೂಡ ಆಗೋಲ್ಲ, ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಮ್ಯಾಟರ್ ಕೂಡ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಆನ್ ಐಸೋಲೇಟೆಡ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್. Here you can have a thermos flask. It is well thermally insulated, and there is no exchange of heat as well as matter with the surroundings. Therefore, a system which is thermally insulated and has no communication of heat or work with the surroundings is called an isolated system. We can give some more examples for an open system. Example, air compressor. Here air at low pressure enters and air at high pressure leaves the system. That is, there is an exchange of matter and energy with the surroundings. Example for closed system is a gas enclosed in a cylinder expands when heated and drives the piston outwards. The boundary of the system moves, but the matter in the system remains constant. Now we shall understand about the thermodynamic equilibrium. We can define thermodynamic equilibrium as the state achieved by a system when it is in mechanical, thermal and chemical equilibrium with its surroundings. Hence, any state of homogeneous system in which any two of the thermodynamic variables, pressure, temperature and volume remains constant, as long as the conditions remain unchanged, is said to be in thermodynamic equilibrium. A system in thermodynamic equilibrium must satisfy the thermal equilibrium condition, mechanical equilibrium condition, also chemical equilibrium condition. Thermal equilibrium. What is thermal equilibrium? In case of thermal equilibrium, no temperature difference between the parts of the system or between the system and its surroundings. So here in this picture you can observe there are two systems, A and B. So when these systems, two systems are not in contact, their temperatures are different. There is a temperature difference between the two systems A and B. So when they come into contact, here you can observe in the thermometer, so both the thermometers will have same temperatures. That is, the two systems will come in contact and the heat exchange takes place, and the two systems will be said to be in thermal equilibrium. ಇದನ್ನು ನಾವು thermal equilibrium ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಇದನ್ನು ಇನ್ನೂ ನೀವು ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಂತಂದರೆ, ನೀವೊಂದು ವೆಸಲ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೋ ಒಂದು ಬಿಸಿ ನೀರು ತಗೊಂಡಿರ್ತೀರಾ ಅಂತ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಅದನ್ನು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೊತ್ತು ಹಾಗೆ ಬಿಟ್ಟರೆ, ಒಂದು ಟೇಬಲ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಹಾಗೆ ಇಟ್ಟರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಗ್ರ್ಯಾಜುವಲಿ heat from the vessel, it will be exchanged with the surroundings. So because surroundings is at a lower temperature when compared to the temperature of the water in the vessel, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ heat exchange ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಎರಡೂ ಕೂಡ ಎಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೆ heat exchange ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತವೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಆ ಒಂದು ನೀರಿನ ಉಷ್ಣಾಂಶ ಸರೌಂಡಿಂಗ್ಸ್ನ ವಾತಾವರಣದ ಉಷ್ಣಾಂಶಕ್ಕೆ ಸಮವಾಗೋ ತನಕನೂ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೀಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಚೇಂಜ್ ನಡೀತಾನೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಸಮಯದ ನಂತರ ನಾವು ಅದರ ಉಷ್ಣತೆಯನ್ನು ನೋಡಿದಾಗ, ಥರ್ಮೋಮೀಟ್ರಿಂದ ಅದನ್ನು ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ, ವಾತಾವರಣದ ಅಂದರೆ ಸರೌಂಡಿಂಗ್ಸ್ನ ಉಷ್ಣತೆ ಟೆಂಪ್ರೇಚರ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿರುತ್ತೋ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಉಷ್ಣತೆ ಆ ಒಂದು ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ನ ಅಥವಾ ಆ ನೀರನ್ನು ಏನು ತಗೊಂಡಿರ್ತೀವಿ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಅಂತ, ಅದರ ಉಷ್ಣತೆ ವಾತಾವರಣದ ಉಷ್ಣತೆಗೆ ಸಮವಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಇದನ್ನು ನಾವೇನಂತ ಅನ್ಬೋದು, ಥರ್ಮಲ್ ಈಕ್ವಿಲಿಬ್ರಿಯಂ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್, ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಮೆಕ್ಯಾನಿಕಲ್ ಈಕ್ವಿಲಿಬ್ರಿಯಂ? ವೆನ್ ದೇರ್ ಇಸ್ ನೋ ಮ್ಯಾಕ್ರೋಸ್ಕೋಪಿಕ್ ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ವಿದಿನ್ ದ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್, ದೆನ್ ದ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಈಸ್ ಸೆಡ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಇನ್ ಮೆಕ್ಯಾನಿಕಲ್ ಈಕ್ವಿಲಿಬ್ರಿಯಂ. We can define mechanical equilibrium as that state of a system in which it experiences no pressure or elastic stresses and there is no unbalanced force between the system and its surroundings. A gas in a cylinder fitted with a piston is said to be in mechanical equilibrium if there is no unbalanced force on the piston. ಈಗ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಈಕ್ವಿಲಿಬ್ರಿಯಮ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಏನು ಅಂತ ನೋಡೋಣ. ನೋ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ ವಿದಿನ್ ದ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ನೋ ಮೂಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಎನಿ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಯೆಂಟ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಒನ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಟು ಅದರ್. ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯ ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಮೂಮೆಂಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಹೋದರೆ, ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಯೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಏನು ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಆಗದೆ ಹೋದರೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಕೆಮಿಕಲ್ ಈಕ್ವಿಲಿಬ್ರಿಯಮ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿಬೋದು. ಇಫ್ ಎ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಈಸ್ ಸಚ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ if it neither shows a tendency to undergo a spontaneous change in its thermal structure such as during a chemical reaction, nor allows transfer of matter from one portion of it to another such as in diffusion, it is said to be in thermal equilibrium. I mean chemical equilibrium. We can also define the thermodynamic process. In any thermodynamic process, the thermodynamic variables such as pressure, volume and temperature changes. When the values of the thermodynamic variables associated with a system change from one equilibrium state to another, the system is said to undergo a thermodynamic process. ನಾವು ಆಗಲೇ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ಸನ್ನು ತಗೊಂಡ್ವಲ್ಲ, ಅದರಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಕೂಡ ಹೀಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ವಾಲ್ಯೂಮ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಮತ್ತು ಟೆಂಪ್ರೇಚರ್ ಚೇಂಜ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇದೆಲ್ಲನೂ ನಾವು ಏನಂತ ಕರಿಬೋದು ಅಂದರೆ ಥರ್ಮೋಡೈನಮಿಕ್ ಪ್ರೋಸೆಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿಬೋದು. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ದಿ ಮೆಲ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಆಫ್ ಐಸ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಕನ್ವರ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಇಂಟು water vapor, these are all called the thermodynamic process. In the case of melting of ice, the system absorbs some heat and it changes its state of solid matter into the state of liquid matter. Here there is a change of the volume, pressure as well as temperature. So these are all the change in the thermodynamic equilibrium from one condition to another condition. This is known as the thermodynamic process. Now we shall discuss about the laws of thermodynamics. What we are discussing, these are all the basic and essential concepts in the thermodynamic process, thermodynamics. Zeroth law of thermodynamics. The statement of zeroth law of thermodynamics is, if two bodies are separately in thermal equilibrium with the third body, then those two bodies will also be in thermal equilibrium with each other. You can understand with this figure. Here three bodies are shown. These three bodies are three systems, we can say A, B and C. If a body A is in contact with body C, and also if the body is in contact with body C separately, there is no connection between A and B. As you can see, A and B are thermally isolated. These two bodies A and B are separately contact, or they are thermally equilibrium with the body C separately. Then these two bodies A and B will also be in thermal equilibrium with each other. So this is the zeroth law of thermodynamics. For example, if the temperature of the body A is TA, when it is in thermal equilibrium with the body C, the temperature TA is equal to Tc. The temperature of the body A will be equal to the temperature of the body C. And if Tb is the temperature of the body B is equal to Tc, the temperature of the body C, these two bodies are then said to be in thermal equilibrium. Hence the temperature of A is equal to temperature of B, TA is equal to Tb. So here there is a concept of internal energy. The energy content of a system is called its internal energy. It is the sum of potential energy and kinetic energy of the system. What is kinetic energy? How it comes? Kinetic energy is due to the translational, rotational and vibrational motion of the molecules, all of which depend only on the temperature. Potential energy is due to intermolecular forces which depend only on the separation between the molecules. So this you have studied in the kinetic theory of matter. Now we shall define, or we can give the statement of first law of thermodynamics. It states that the amount of heat supplied to a system is equal to the sum of increase in the internal energy of the system and the external work done by the system. You can understand the first law of thermodynamics by looking into this figure. Here there is a system. So when there is no heat is supplied to the system, that means, for example, a gas is taken inside the container. The gas inside the container is said to be a system. Before giving heat to this system, there is some internal energy for this system. This internal energy is a combination of kinetic energy and potential energy of the system, as I said. When a heat delta Q, a small amount of heat delta Q is supplied to the system, what happens? The internal energy of the system is increased. It absorbs the amount of heat, the temperature of the gas or the system increases. As the temperature increases, the internal energy of the system also increases. So therefore the gas begins to expand. The volume of the gas increases. So as the volume increases, there is an external work done on the piston. The external work is done by the gas on the system, we can say. So this is the theme of the first law of thermodynamics. So we can again state the first law of thermodynamics. The amount of heat supplied to a system is equal to the sum of increase in the internal energy of the system as well as the external work done by the system. This can be given by the equation dq is equal to du plus dw, where dq is the amount of heat supplied to the system that is utilized to two things. So one is the increase in internal energy du plus the external work done dw. Now we shall discuss about the PV diagram. PV diagrams are a graphical representation of the variation of the thermodynamic variables such as pressure with the volume of the system. These PV diagrams are very important in understanding the process, the thermodynamic process, and the dependence of the thermodynamic variables with one another. If the volume changes, then there will be pressure of the system also changes. So this can be visualized by the PV diagram. It is very useful in understanding the thermodynamic process for a system. If the state of the system depends upon the thermodynamic coordinates such as temperature, volume, pressure and entropy of the system, if any two are known, the third variable can be easily determined. That is, the two thermodynamical variables are sufficient to describe the behavior of a thermodynamic system. Any thermodynamic process may be reversible or irreversible. These are very much important in understanding the concept of entropy, etc. What is a reversible process? Reversible process is that process which can be retraced in opposite direction so that the system and the surroundings pass through the same state at each stage as in the direct process. ಇದರ ಅರ್ಥ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರೋಸೆಸ್ಸು ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಸ್ಟೇಜಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿರುತ್ತೋ ಅದೇ ಸ್ಟೇಜನ್ನು ನಾವು ವಾಪಸ್ಸು ಪಡೆಯೋಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆದರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವೇನಂತೀವಿ ರಿವರ್ಸಿಬಲ್ ಪ್ರೋಸೆಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ನೀವು ಪ್ರತಿದಿನ ಮನೆಯಿಂದ ಕಾಲೇಜಿಗೆ ಬರ್ತೀರಾ. ಕಾಲೇಜಿಗೆ ಬರಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಹಲವಾರು ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕೋಆರ್ಡಿನೇಟ್ಸನ್ನು you come across different states and you reach the college. ಮತ್ತೆ ನೀವು ಕಾಲೇಜಿಂದ ವಾಪಸ್ ಮನೆಗೆ ಹೋಗಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಅದೇ ಮಾರ್ಗದಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ವಾಪಸ್ ಹೋಗ್ತೀರಾ, ಅದೇ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಸ್ಟೇಟನ್ನು ನೀವು ಹಾದು ವಾಪಸ್ ಹೋಗ್ತೀರಾ. ಇಂಥದ್ದನ್ನು ನಾವೇನನ್ಬೋದು ಒಂದು ರಿವರ್ಸಿಬಲ್ ಪ್ರೋಸೆಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿಬೋದು. Another example, you can take the conversion of ice into water or water into water vapor. Now in this process you can reverse the process by keeping the same thermodynamical conditions, reversing the thermodynamical conditions. The water vapor can become water when it is cooled, and water will become ice if it is further cooled. So in one way the heat is given to the system. In the other way, heat is absorbed from the system. Therefore, this type of the process is known as a reversible process. Another example is the compression and expansion of a spring. Here also you can observe the reversible process. Irreversible process is that process which cannot be retraced in the opposite order by reversing the controlling factors. For example, if you burn a paper, it converts into ashes, but you cannot make the ash into the paper. This is one example. ಈ ಥರದ್ದು ಹಲವಾರು ನೀವು ಉದಾಹರಣೆಗಳನ್ನು ನೋಡಬಹುದಾಗಿರ್ತದೆ irreversible process ಅಂತಂದರೆ. So therefore, irreversible process is that process which cannot be retraced in a opposite order by reversing the controlling factors. Other examples may be chemical reaction, decay of organic matter, growth of a plant, etc. So these are all the examples for the irreversible process. Now we shall look into the laws of thermodynamics. That is the second law of thermodynamics. There are two statements which describes the second law of thermodynamics. One is Kelvin's statement, another one is Clausius' statement. In this second law of thermodynamics, we can understand the direction of flow of heat in a system. This information is not given in the first law of thermodynamics. Now we can state the Kelvin's statement. It is impossible to get a continuous supply of work from a body by cooling it to a temperature lower than of its surroundings. This statement implies that one cannot devise a machine which just absorbs heat and produce 100% work. Example for the Kelvin statement is the heat engine. The Clausius statement is, it is impossible to make heat flow from a body at lower temperature to a higher temperature or vice versa without doing an external work on the working substance. For example, refrigerator. ನೀವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು, ರೆಫ್ರಿಜರೇಟರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ರೆಫ್ರಿಜರೇಟರ್ ಒಳಗಡೆ ನಾವು ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ವಸ್ತುವನ್ನು ಇಟ್ಟರೆ ಅದು ಕೂಲ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಹೀಟನ್ನು ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದರ ಹೀಟನ್ನು ರೆಫ್ರಿಜರೇಟರ್ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಹೀಟ್ ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಸರೌಂಡಿಂಗ್ಸ್ಗೆ ಹೀಟನ್ನು ಬಿಟ್ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ. ಇದರರ್ಥ ಒಂದು ಲೋವರ್ ಟೆಂಪ್ರೇಚರ್ ರೀಜನಿಂದ ಹೈಯರ್ ಟೆಂಪ್ರೇಚರ್ ರೀಜನ್ಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹೀಟ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಇದು ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಪಾಸಿಬಲ್ ಓನ್ಲಿ by doing external work on the system. So in the refrigerator, some compressor will be there. It works on the system and it will absorb heat which is at a lower temperature than the surroundings, and it absorbs from the system and it will leave the heat to the surroundings which is at a higher temperature region. Therefore, Clausius statement is that it is impossible to make heat flow from a body at lower temperature to a higher temperature or vice versa without doing an external work on the working substance. ಇದನ್ನು ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಆಗಿ ನೀವು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಂತಂದರೆ ಈ ಚಿತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು. There is a container which is filled with water or some liquid and it is at a higher concentration. The liquid flows to another container which is at a lower concentration. So it is possible. So this direction is possible. Some liquid flows from higher concentration region to a lower concentration region. It is possible. So, but the reverse is not possible. The liquid cannot flow from a lower concentration to a higher concentration region. This is not possible. So, with this we can understand the Clausius statement. Next, the third law of thermodynamics states that at absolute zero temperature, the entropy tends to zero and the molecules of a substance or a system are in perfect order or well arranged. This means at absolute temperature, zero temperature, the randomness or the disorderness will be zero, hence the entropy tends to zero. Any system will have its own internal energy by the motion of the molecules, by the vibration of the molecules, whether it may be a solid, liquid or a gaseous system. Since there is a motion, there will be some entropy for the system. If the temperature of the system is made to absolute zero, then all these motions will be freezed and the molecule of the substance or the system will be in a perfect order, well arranged manner. But this is not possible since the entropy of the system will always increase. Entropy of the universe is also increasing. ಇದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಮುಂದಿನ ಒಂದು ಸೆಷನ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಎಂಟ್ರೋಪಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡುವಾಗ ಅದನ್ನು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೋದು. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಈ ಒಂದು ಥರ್ಡ್ ಲಾ ಆಫ್ ಥರ್ಮೋಡೈನಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸನ್ನು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಸಾಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. Now we shall understand about heat engine. ನಾವು ಪ್ರಾರಂಭದಲ್ಲೇ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ದಂಗೆ ಯುರೋಪಿನ ಕೈಗಾರಿಕಾ ಕ್ರಾಂತಿ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಹೀಟ್ ಎಂಜಿನ್ನ, ಸಮರ್ಥವಾದ ಹೀಟ್ ಎಂಜಿನ್, ದಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯನ್ ಎಫಿಷಿಯೆಂಟ್ ಹೀಟ್ ಎಂಜಿನ್, ಇದರ ಅವಶ್ಯಕತೆ ಇತ್ತು. ವಾಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ ಹೀಟ್ ಎಂಜಿನ್? ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಮೆಷಿನ್ ವಿಚ್ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಹೀಟ್ ಇಂಟು ಮೆಕ್ಯಾನಿಕಲ್ ವರ್ಕ್. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ known as a heat engine. In the operation of a heat engine, they absorb heat at higher temperature, converts a part of it into mechanical work and rejects the remaining heat at a lower temperature. A Carnot heat engine is a theoretical engine that operates on the Carnot cycle. Carnot devised this theoretical or conceptual heat engine which can operate between two temperatures, and he also said that the efficiency of a Carnot engine is 100%, but in practice 100% efficiency cannot be reached. It is only an ideal thing. Carnot engine is only the theoretical engine, we can say. What is the efficiency of a heat engine? The ratio of mechanical work done by the engine in one cycle to the heat absorbed from the source at high temperature. This is known as the efficiency of a heat engine. ಅಂದರೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಹೀಟನ್ನು ಅಬ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೆ ಒಂದು ಹೀಟ್ ಎಂಜಿನ್, ಅದು ಎಷ್ಟು ಹೀಟು ವರ್ಕಾಗಿ ಕನ್ವರ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಈ ರೇಷಿಯೋವನ್ನು ನಾವು ಏನಂತೀವಿ, ಅದರ ಎಫಿಷಿಯನ್ಸಿ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಮ್ಯಾಥಮೆಟಿಕಲಿ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಗಿವ್ ದ ಎಫಿಷಿಯನ್ಸಿ. this is the expression for the efficiency. Eta is the efficiency, that is equal to Q1 minus Q2 divided by Q1, where Q1 is the amount of heat absorbed from the heat reservoir and Q2 is the amount of heat rejected into the cold reservoir. This difference, the amount of heat absorbed minus the amount of heat rejected, so this amount of heat to the ratio amount of heat absorbed, is equal to the efficiency. So this difference of heat, that is the amount of heat absorbed minus the amount of heat rejected, will give the work done. Hence the ratio of work done to the amount of heat absorbed gives the efficiency of any heat engine. In this figure, you can understand what is a Carnot cycle, how a Carnot heat engine works. These are the essential parts of the Carnot heat engine, and here there is a graphical representation of one cycle of a Carnot heat engine. Here there is a cylinder which consists of some working substance. Working substance may be some gas taken inside this cylinder. This cylinder is fitted with a frictionless piston. And this cylinder is insulated with some insulating walls. So this is the one part of the Carnot heat engine. To absorb the required amount of heat, a source is necessary. So here a source at a temperature T1 is shown. The source is nothing but it is a reservoir of heat from which any amount of heat can be absorbed. And here there is a sink at a temperature T2. Sink is nothing but it is a cold reservoir to which any amount of heat can be rejected. So when this cylinder fitted with the frictionless piston is kept on the source, the cylinder, that the system of the cylinder, that is the gas inside the cylinder, will absorb heat from this source, from this conducting base, through this conducting base, and the internal energy of the system increases. Hence the gas expands. So as it expands, there is a work done on the piston by the system. So work will be done. So in this process, it is represented by the graph here. It is an isothermal expansion. The system starts from A and it goes to point B. Here the volume is gradually increasing. The volume of the gas or the system inside the cylinder is increased in this isothermal expansion, while some pressure is decreased up to this level. After this, adiabatic expansion will be done. Adiabatic expansion is done when this cylinder is placed on an insulating pad. After keeping on the insulating pad, the system will further have a adiabatic expansion. The volume further increases up to the point C and the pressure decreases. Again, the cylinder is kept on the sink. Now there will be isothermal compression. The heat changes, exchange of heat between the sink and the system takes place, and there will be compression of the gas takes place, since its internal energy decreases while absorbing the heat or while rejecting the heat to the sink. Hence the volume of the system decreases, a slight increase in the pressure takes place, and again this cylinder is kept on the insulating pad. Now there is a adiabatic compression takes place. In this cycle, in this process of adiabatic compression from D to A, there will be further decrease of the volume takes place, but there is increase of the pressure takes place. Therefore, these four, isothermal expansion, adiabatic expansion, isothermal compression and adiabatic compression, comprises a complete Carnot cycle. Using this diagram or the graph, you can understand the operation of a Carnot engine in one cycle of operation. Here there is a schematic representation of heat engine and a refrigerator. Here you can see a heat engine is there. It is a hot reservoir maintained at a high temperature of T1, and there is a cold reservoir which is maintained at a low temperature. From the hot reservoir any amount of heat can be absorbed, and to the cold reservoir any amount of heat can be rejected. If Q1 amount of heat is absorbed from the hot reservoir, the heat engine will have some work done, and this work done is shown here, W out, and some amount of heat that is not useful, it will be rejected into the cold reservoir. So this is the schematic representation and work of a heat engine. ಇದರ ಅರ್ಥ ಏನಪ್ಪ ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ನೀವು ತುಂಬ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಆಗಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ದಿನನಿತ್ಯದ ಬಳಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹಲವಾರು ಎಂಜಿನ್ಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಿ. ಮೋಟಾರ್ ಬೈಕ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಕಾರ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ರೈಲ್ ಬಂಡಿ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಇತ್ಯಾದಿ ಹಲವಾರು ವಾಹನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಎಂಜಿನ್ಗಳಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಇದು ನಿಮಗೆ ತಿಳಿದಿದೆ. ಈ ಎಂಜಿನ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಫ್ಯೂಯಲನ್ನು ಬಳಸ್ತೀವಿ. ದಿ ಫ್ಯೂಯಲ್ ವಿಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಸಮ್ ಕಂಬಷನ್ ವಿತ್ ಏರ್, and when it is ignited, the working substance, the mixture of air and fuel, will do some work, and the amount of heat rejected to the reservoir, the heat lost, can be seen in the forms of fumes. Exhaust gas ಏನು ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು unused heat ಅಂತ ಕರಿಬೋದು. Now, so here there is a schematic representation of a refrigerator. Here also there is a hot reservoir at a temperature T1, and there is a cold reservoir at a temperature T2. Here it operates in a reverse manner when compared to the heat engine. The heat Q2 is absorbed from the cold reservoir. The amount of heat is absorbed from the cold reservoir. Cold reservoir is at a lower temperature, and the heat Q2 is rejected to a hot reservoir. It is at a higher temperature. So this is not done on its own. It can be done. The refrigerator can absorb the heat from a cold reservoir only on the work done on the refrigerator. Therefore, it is shown W in. The work is done on the system to make it to work, to make it to absorb heat from the cold region and to pass it to the hot region. So this is about the working of heat engine and a refrigerator. We shall discuss some more things in the next sessions.